Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. I was just admiring this Edinburgh kit from 2009 and pouring bleach in my eye so that I never need to look at it again. However, it does get me thinking, what are the ugliest, the worst rugby kits you've ever seen? Stade Francais had quite a few contenders. Please send them to us for next week and we will pull some of the ugliest stuff then. So this was week 3 of Super Rugby Aotearoa. We saw 2 more games. We saw a really close thriller between the Blues and the Highlanders as the Highlanders really pushed late on, turned down a late shot at goal to draw in order to go for the win. However, the Blues held out and made it 3 wins from 3, which is a huge upset on where they were a year ago, where they were a few months ago. No one saw this one coming. And then, slightly more inevitable, we saw the Crusaders pull off another win as they want and do in what was a game that finally showed us some proper rugby as a Northern Hemisphere fan. You know, like there was knock-ons, there was some scrum resets, it was raining, it was just teams soaking up tackles, there was late drama, there was no drop goal, but you know, other than that, we can't have everything. It was proper rugby. It was great to see a different style of rugby kick off. However, this wasn't the only rugby taking place in New Zealand. If you turned up to play in an amateur grassroots match on Saturday and found yourself facing some particular odds, that might have been because Ardie Savea, who last year was nominated for World Player of the Year, turned out to play grassroots rugby at the weekend for his local team. You can only imagine the kind of chaos a properly world-class All Black manages to cause at the lower levels. That must have been so much fun to watch and not much fun to play in. Outside New Zealand, the Russian League rolled into their second week. Ensai sit top of the table, led by Russia's fly half from last year's World Cup, Rumo Geisen, who's put in a couple of really standout performances. And they're one of 3 teams who are unbeaten as the competition rolls on. All the matches are being live streamed on the Russian Rugby Union's YouTube page. So if you want to have a look at those, they're all going out live each weekend.
Oh, what's this little rascal Tippy Joe? Aye, Tony, just as I thought. There's some cheeky shenanigans going on here.
He might need a new pair of corduroys after that, Ralph. Stonking.
And speaking of live this weekend, the 3rd competition kicks off as rugby returns to Australia, with the Reds taking on the Waratahs this Friday. So it got me thinking, what should we all know going into this competition? Who are the teams taking part in Super Rugby Australia, and what should we know as it kicks off?
Squidge Rugby's Guide to Super Rugby Australia.
So, with Super Rugby Australia just days away, what should we be looking out for in this new look competition? This tournament also comprises of 5 teams: the Queensland Reds, the Melbourne Rebels, the No Town Attached Brumbies, the Back from the Dead Western Force, and Michael Hooper. There's some new laws, including a rugby league style system where anyone who can get a kick to bounce out perfectly in the opposition 22 from inside their own half gets their team the throw-in. And as for those teams, the Reds may not be the Quaid, Genia superpower of days gone, but they do boast the ever-classy James O'Connor and the wunderkind of Australian rugby, Jordan Patai, who had a great World Cup. The Rebels have a more balanced backline with Wallaby regulars, captain Dana Haylett-Petty, Reece Hodge and his foot-like traction engine, and Matt Tamua, who always manages to be creative despite looking like he didn't sleep the previous night. The Western Force have been pulled back from the dead for this competition after being cut by Super Rugby in 2017, and yet their squad still contains some pretty decent players in the form of former All Black Jeremy Thrush, Wallabies Greg Holmes and Carl Godwin, and 2 men who were arguably their nation's best player at last year's World Cup, Samoan Henry Tafua and the USA's Marshall Brackey. The Brumbies, meanwhile, built a reputation as Australia's resident maul and have much of the Wallaby pack to help them do that, but it'll be interesting to see how they recover from the tough retirement of a certain Mr. David Pocock. However, if you like quality 7s, turn your eyes right over to the New South Wales Waratahs, skippered by the one and only Michael Hooper. Whereas some test players like to let their standards, say, match the level they're playing at, I don't think I've ever watched Hooper play to the Tars without thinking he was their best player on the day. However, Also, keep an eye out for Australian 20s winger Mark Nawangiri-Tanase, who is a pretty brilliant finisher. Unlike the Crusaders and Aotearoa as well, this is a competition without a clear favourite, and it all kicks off this Friday when the Reds take on the Waratahs. So last week we asked you for the best overseas signings you've seen in rugby, the best players who've come into a club from another country. We had Stephen Campbell say Nakarawa to Glasgow Warriors. His arms are like Inspector Gadget, but without the comic cowardice. Now I would add in as well that he had the intelligence of Penny and Brain, because people forget that actually Inspector Gadget was a pretty useless blue. That's me kicking off there, asking you to do just that. We've had a few shouts for South African scrum halves. Guppers says Faf de Klerk for Sale and Cobus Reinach for Northampton, who, I mean, that's a fantastic shout. Reinach made a hell of an impression at Franklin's Gardens. And then also, Grant Schwartz says Scarlets legend Herschel Yankees, who of course signed for the Scarlets, played one game, then disappeared, never to be seen again until he came up and won a World Cup last year. Johan says Scott Brits and Jacques Berger at Saracens, both fantastic signings that were really instrumental in Saracens becoming the force, the dominant side in England they are today. C.A. Bullets throws out a couple of shouts, the first one being Wilkinson at Toulon, and I completely agree. I think Johnny Wilkinson played the best rugby of his career when he was at Toulon at that kind of final stage of his career. He was brilliant and won multiple European Cups. Kyle Wazowski says Cheslin Colby to Toulouse, which frankly is just cheating. But you signed Cheslin Colby, of course you're getting on this list. It's not fair. It's not fair. Of course you're getting. And there's a few mentions of Easton Favour, who seemed to play for Leinster for about 46 years. Like, he was still in his late 70s, trundling down the wing, one of the most reliable back three players you could come up against. And likewise, Andrew, a Cardiff Blues fan, you kind of can't beat this. Jonah Lomu. There's loads more shouts there. There's Ruben Pinar's been mentioned quite a few times at Ulster. Loads of players had huge impacts at their clubs. If you want to have a huge impact in the next edition of the feed, however, then please, you can begin by subscribing to the World Rugby YouTube channel if you want to do that. And then leaving in the comments a link, a picture, a description of the ugliest shirt you ever saw worn on a rugby pitch. We'll see you next week for more of the feed.